Critical literacy theory involves the analysis of various texts in order to determine if there are any discriminatory underpinnings within the text. It takes into account the social and political opinions of the authors that create the text as well. In my experience, children with disabilities, as well as other members of society who have a diminished voice, are often invisible to typically developing, or also known as neurotypical individuals, and are thus excluded from proportionate representation in educational resources. The question I seek to answer is whether the lack of representation of children with disabilities in educational resources actually creates or perpetuates injustice or inequality, or whether, in the alternative, this phenomenon has any impact or consequence on the perspectives of children with disabilities, their loved ones, and society. I aim to learn more about the dual consciousness and relative deprivation of students with learning disabilities with a critical bifocality lens. I would like to continue the research that I started in fall 2018, and my study intends to promote a greater level of awareness surrounding the deliberation with which stakeholders select instructional resources to educate children with disabilities. The potential answers to this research question are pertinent to the field of literacy, culture, and language education, also known as LCLE. A tremendous amount of LCLE research demonstrates the immense power of inclusion within the world of education, specifically within the context of race and ethnicity in culturally diverse classrooms. Relatedly, I am interested to learn if educators allocate resources to the exploration and promotion of academically diverse learning environments. My research aims to ascertain whether the same theories, concepts, and principles of inclusion and critical literacy for culturally diverse classrooms translate to more positive outcomes within learning environments of children with intellectual and developmental disabilities. I plan to conduct additional teacher interviews and observations to increase my understanding of text selection for and by children with disabilities. Do educators possess the power to dictate the collection of text within their classrooms? I am also interested to see if, when given the option, special education students select books at the library about children with disabilities. Reflection of self within educational resources leads to social justice for marginalized groups and education for majority groups. In my time as a researcher and speech-language pathologist, I have noticed that generally, special education students do not choose books about students with disabilities. Based on discussions with teachers, students with disabilities are unaware that they have a disability. Per the teacher's report, the parents typically do not discuss the child's disability with him or her, nor do the parents discuss the manners in which the disability may affect the way the child learns. It appears that parents are afraid to reveal this diagnosis to their children. This failure to inform and lack of self-awareness may have long-term effects on the student's ability to understand and articulate their needs. If students with disabilities are unaware of their differences, how can they advocate for themselves? Oftentimes, students with deficits in oral and written language exhibit difficulty with self-advocacy skills and continue to struggle with this skill as an adult. For example, if a student with autism who struggles to effectively communicate with peers relates to his teacher that he is interested in becoming a lawyer, a profession that requires a great deal of fluidity and command of communication, then he should be made aware of his disability and how it may affect his aspirations. This will allow for an increased awareness to create specific short-term objectives to achieve his long-term career goal. For example, this student could enroll in a drama class in high school to enhance public speaking abilities, or perhaps a social skills group to develop conversational techniques. Being aware of our shortcomings and perceived limitations helps us to learn how to ameliorate, compensate, or delegate these areas of weakness. As a speech language pathologist, I am taught to pathologize everything. The nature of my profession is to find something wrong and fix it. In any event, I often wonder whether I'm continually pathologizing the students in my research study. Furthermore, I wonder why I am expecting general education students to choose books about general education students and special education students to choose books about special education students. Ultimately, they are all multifaceted individuals that likely identify with other subcultures, such as their neighborhood, their ethnicity, a favorite sports team, rather than their disability. Many individuals in our society have assumptions about different subgroups and subcultures. However, by having more exposure to a population unlike yourself, your predetermined assumptions begin to dissipate in light of acceptance and recognition of intersectionality. As a researcher, I struggle with my tendencies as a clinician to predict an outcome merely, collecting the data, but I need to allow the data to lead me. The participants in my study are far more than one-dimensional robots, primed to define themselves by their perceived or realized disability. Thank you for viewing my presentation. I look forward to hearing all of your valuable feedback.